Once again, today I'm going to do a kind of a quick little review on these 3 pellets. I just got them. I haven't even fired the first one through the gun yet. And I'm going to be using my gamo swarm 22 caliber. First off, I'm going to try the JSB Diablo Jumbo Heavies. I've never shot a JSB pellet before, so this is a first time for me. H&N Sport, that's one of the pellets that my gun seems to favor. I'm going to be trying out the Barracuda Match at 21.14 grains and the Barracuda Hunter at 18.21 grains. And the JSBs, I'm sure everyone knows these, but they're 18.13. I wanted to set up 2 cameras today and have one down at the target, but it's real cloudy, real rainy, drizzly, miserable day. There's my target that I will be shooting at. And as I said in one of my previous videos, I wanted to kind of give you an idea of my shooting setup. It's a sawhorse and a foldable chair. Nothing special. That's one reason why I'm so shaky in most of my videos. But I'm going to be pausing in between each pellet shot because I'm sure y'all don't want to watch me reload the gun every time. But I'm going to be doing 10 shot groups instead of the normal traditional 5, just because they hold 10. So why not just go ahead and use all 10? That's my thinking. But I understand why other people do it with just 5. You know, most of them are a single shot. But with this gamo swarm, it's got a little self-loading magazine right there. So alright, I'm going to pause, get set up. I'm going to shoot the JSBs first and see how they do. Okay. Alright, let's see what we got here. First shot with the JSB Jumbo Heavies. A little high, but gun's also not sighted in for these, so understandable. Off to the right. And I pulled that one. I pulled that one pretty bad. Let's see. That one shot real high as well. There we go, closer to bullseye. Now, just because these pellets don't do well in this gun does not mean they won't do good in yours. I've found this gun to be extremely pellet picky. But also, you got to account for shooter error, because I am by no means an expert. These tend to be kind of flying all over, but that one went right in bullseye. Wind today really isn't much of a factor, maybe 1 to 2 miles an hour here and there, but for the most part, wind is not a factor. This boils down to crappy shooter, and of course the gun has a little bit to do with it, but it's mostly poor shot. But okay, I'm going to pause you. I'm going to reload. This time I'm going to use the Barracuda matches. See how they do. All right. Now I've got the Barracuda matches in here, match grade. Let's see how well they do. A little high and to the left. A little low to the left. That was just a tad high and to the left. To the left again. These seem to be holding a pretty decent group off to the left. This has a gas piston in it, so it's not as precision minded as some of the PCP rifles. It takes a little bit of getting used to, and takes some skill to get this type of platform down pat. I'm by no means skilled. And I'm shooting at a distance of about 20 yards, 20 to 25, closer to 20 of course, but these seem to be grouping fairly well. If I could hold still. And none of these shots are trying to compensate. They're all pointed directly at bullseye. All right, here we are at the target. That is the JSB Heavies. And this one right here is the one that I pulled. But got several right there in that hole. And then, you know, that it's not as tight as I would prefer, but we're talking about me shooting and the Gamo Swarm gas piston. You know, it's not going to be as precise as the PCP rifles. Over here we've got the Barracuda matches. They actually grouped fairly well. You got a flyer down here, but for the most part, I mean, that's respectable, especially for me shooting and the setup that I currently have. Now this to me, that's kind of impressive. You know, they're all just kind of on top of one another right there, just pow 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 pow, right up in there, all for the most part in a straight line. I'm amazed at how well those Barracuda hunters actually did. I was not expecting that at all. Honestly, I was kind of expecting that type of group out of the Barracuda hunters. But I think I'm going to give these another try down here on that target, just to see if maybe, you know, those were my first shots of the day. Let's see if maybe after a total of 30 shots my groups will improve with the JSBs. And the reason I'm doing it with the JSBs is because I feel that everyone out there seems to love those pellets. They perform very well in a lot of different air guns. So I'm guessing that maybe a lot of that is shooter error, which frankly is quite possible with me. And then I think I might have to take the Barracuda hunters again and put them in there. Just I've shot tighter groups, you know, with the H&N copper field and trophy powers. You know, they've performed extraordinarily well in my Gamo Swarm. But let's go back. I'll reload some JSBs and I'll be back in just a minute. Okay, we are back. I've got 10 rounds of JSB jumbo heavies ready to go. Wish that dog would shut up. All right, let's see. One thing I've noticed is I always tend to try and tensen up and hold this gun tight, but just like with other gas piston and spring air rifles, you want to hold them loose, let them move around. That's the only way you're going to get any type of accuracy out of a gas piston or spring air rifle. It's just not going to happen otherwise. And I find that I keep trying to tensen up and hold it tightly. wow, that's way out. But one thing I've also found with this gamo is that, you know, some guns, they prefer to have a clean barrel. They shoot better. They're more accurate with a clean barrel. Not this one. When I first got it, I was cleaning it every single time that I'd get done shooting. I'd take it inside and I'd clean it out. And, you know, just really taking care of it. But I read online, you know, I can't remember which form it was, but he was saying that his gun actually preferred a dirty barrel, you know, not being cleaned so often. And I found that with this gun, it prefers a dirty barrel. I clean it, I'm shooting all over the place. I shoot, you know, a couple of rounds through it, get it dirty, it starts closing in. I don't know why it works, but it does. At least for me, it does. Wow. You know, every gun is different. Every shooter's different. And every pellet's different. It's almost like no two pellets are exactly the same. I pulled on that one a little bit with the trigger, and I actually got closer to bullseye than the previous shots. And up here, I'm not gripping it, I'm not holding it, I've just got it slightly resting right there, just slightly resting. I'm not holding it down tight. It can move. I found that, you know, you hold it tightly, you're not going to hit what you're aiming at. Doesn't matter what pellet you're using. And I've also noticed that for me, learning to shoot with both eyes open while looking down the scope has greatly improved my accuracy. I was watching a YouTuber, old lady shooter. She's got some really good tips, a lot of really good like trick style shooting. She's actually quite amazing to watch some of the shots that she's able to pull off with air rifles. Alright, and there's the second group with the JSB heavies. At this point, with 20 rounds, I'm just going to say that my gun don't like them. But then again, I've got 3 right there in the same hole. I don't know. What do y'all guess or think? Comment, subscribe. Let me know what you think. And I found that using my phone to record, although it takes great video, it stops after a few minutes, and I guess goes into power save mode, so it stops recording. I'm not too sure what it's doing, but I hope that I got some usable video. This time with the H&N Barracuda Hunters, 22 caliber, 18.21 grains. And from my earlier video, I shot 3 different pellets, the JSB Exact Heavies and the Barracuda Matches. I'm sure I can get smaller groups than what I did with the matches, but I'm shaky. That's just the way I am. But as I said in my earlier video, I was going to come back to the Barracuda Hunters because it's a hollow point that actually seems to be performing quite well in my gun. And that's one thing that I'd been looking for, was a hollow point that would perform in this rifle. You know, a lot of the domed pellets do great in this gun. Mostly the H&N coppers, you know, so far they're been the best that I've found for this. But every gun's different. You can have another swarm exactly like this one, and it may hate the copper pellets. It may hate all of H&N pellets. It may only like JSBs. It may only like the cheap Craftsmans. It's hard to tell. The only way to find out is grab your gun, go and buy a bunch of different pellets, and put the lead down range. See which ones your gun prefers. But here we go. I'm going to be shooting at the big center target and see what happens with it. That was a little high and to the right. Touching bullseye. Right in the bullseye. That's amazing. That one was a little bit high, but in line with bullseye. High again. And I've adjusted this trigger. It's a 2-stage adjustable trigger. And what I found for me that worked was taking the first stage completely out. I mean, running it down to hardly anything at all. There's hardly any first stage there. Now it's all one clean, crisp second stage. For the most part, it is pretty predictable. I mean, you pretty much know where and when it's going to fire. That one was touching bullseye as well. If I can keep that style of group with these, these will be my hollow points that I use. That one I pulled a little bit, but it's still right there with the group. That one I pulled. All right, see, I'm empty. All right, I'm gonna pause you, then we're gonna go up, check the target. And as you can see, these were the groups before from the last video. And that's the Barracuda Hunters. Granted, that group to me is much better than this one. I believe it was one of these two right here when I said I pulled on that one. That may have been the other one that I pulled, but I mean, 2 flyers way up there and then the rest of them right here. Although I prefer a group like that over one like that. That's still not too bad, especially for Brett's crappy shots. Y'all have fun. Be safe out there.